The Detroit Pistons have been much better than most fans expected, and even better than Trajan Langdon expected. Will this cause the Pistons GM to now reevaluate his plan and maybe see a more aggressive Detroit Piston approach come the trade deadline? We'll talk about it today's episode, Locked On Pistons Podcast. Let's go.
You are Locked On Pistons, your daily Detroit Pistons podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's the deal? Welcome back to another episode of the Locked On Pistons podcast. Per usual, I'm your host, Ku Khahil. You can find me over on Twitter at Ku Khahil. I want to thank you guys for making Locked On Pistons your first listen of every single day. We are free and available on all your podcast platforms. If you haven't already, head to the YouTube channel at Locked On Pistons. Hit that subscribe button. We are now under 700 subscribers away from 10,000. We're still hovering around 50% of you guys who watch and listen are not subscribed. You guys know our goal by the end of the year is to get to 10,000. Please help us get there. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. I really would appreciate it. Also, gotta let you guys know that today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Also, head over to LockedOnDaily.com, type in your email, and you'll get a Locked On Daily newsletter along with your Locked On Daily podcast every single day, Monday through Friday. Appreciate all the support, you guys. I think you guys really love the newsletter. It's been super dope doing it, putting it together. Heard nothing but good things from a lot of you guys about how you guys have been receiving it. So if you haven't already, go type your email in at LockedOnDaily.com. Later on the podcast, there's been some fans that and some people that have been pretty critical of the Pistons vets, or a specific vet, over the last few months, and he has absolutely answered the call over the last few weeks, along with the rest of the Detroit Pistons vets. We'll talk about that later, and also talk about how Cade Cunningham continues to ball out and what this means for him. We'll talk about that later as well. But where we got to start off at, I think, is the biggest news right now coming out of Detroit, and that is, are the Detroit Pistons going to make an aggressive trade at the trade deadline? I think if you asked this question a month ago, 2 months ago, 3 months ago, 3 weeks ago, I don't think you get an answer that is anything but definitely not. They're not going to do that. They're just, they're using this cap space that they have, which is around $14 million, to just take on some cap and maybe get some picks out of it, maybe some second rounders, etc., something like that. However, the Detroit Pistons, I think, have shocked fans, and they have even shocked their own GM, Trajan Langdon, with how good they've been so far this year. The Pistons currently sit at 20-19, above 500. They just beat the Toronto Raptors, and they are currently just one game back of the 6th seed and a game and a half behind the 5th seed. They are 8-2 in their last 10 games. They have a budding franchise player who is absolutely balling out and has people not just talking about AllStar right now. There's people talking about Cade being an All-NBA third guy by the end of the year if the Pistons keep up this track. I don't think Trajan expected the team to be this good. Actually, I know for a fact he didn't expect it to be this good, and I don't think he expected Cade to be this good right out the gate, and you can hear it from Trajan himself. I would play the video itself, but we've had some technical difficulties, so I'll go ahead and just break down what Trajan said before one of the Pistons games over the last week. Mickey York asked him, how do you feel about the team, how they're playing so far this year? Are you shocked, etc.? And Trajan went on to say that, yeah, we definitely did not. I'm very happy. It's been fun to see the guys play this way, but I don't think any of us were expecting us to be at where we're at right now. I don't think any of us expected us to be above 500 at this point. We're definitely ahead of the curve, he said. Now, he did go on to say he's not going to go too crazy and go, get out of pocket about it, but they definitely were not expecting them to be ahead of the curve like they are right now. And what's come of that is multiple reports. First started with Brian Windhorst. You've also got multiple other reports I've saw from Hoops Hype. You've seen some reports from Mark Stein. We've seen multiple reports now since that, over the last week, that says Detroit is a team to watch be a little more aggressive at the trade deadline. I believe Wendy's report as well, specifically, I believe he talked about this in his own podcast, Hoop Collective, talked about how well Cade Cunningham has looked, where they are seated in the East, has maybe shifted the Pistons front office to reevaluate their plans and potentially be a little bit more aggressive at the trade deadline. So now you're hearing all these reports about the Pistons maybe reevaluating and going a different route. So my stance here is this, man. I've said this for a while now. Once you get that guy and you feel comfortable that that player that you draft or that player that you have is that guy, everything then after that needs to be about getting that player as much help as possible and going and making moves to do it. However, you also need to be careful, obviously. You don't need to do anything stupid that destroys your cap space long term and restricts you from doing anything else. And I don't think anyone is expecting the Pistons or wanting the Pistons to do anything that would screw them over long term or get rid of all their assets that they happen to do have currently. I don't think anyone wants to go to that extreme. However, here is something that needs to be brought up. The Pistons pick this year is top 13 protected. Now, for the longest time, I've said on the podcast, and this is true, they've wanted to keep that pick. However, it's becoming more and more clear they're not going to have an option with that. That pick is probably going to leave, especially if they keep playing like this. They're going to make the play-in. Definitely, it seems like they're definitely going to make the play-in. And who knows how much higher they're going to get. Cade's playing exceptional. The vets are starting to play better. They might make another, it's becoming harder and harder seeing them keeping their pick this year. If that is the case, we've talked about it a lot that, oh no, that may not be good, and maybe they sell at the deadline to try to keep their pick. However, there's something else that needs to be discussed, and that is if Trajan evaluates this, if he is now reevaluating this team and says, you know what, Cade is playing this great, the vets are starting to play better, we're 20-19, despite the fact that we have glaring holes at the backup point guard position, we have glaring holes at the quality of defense at some of the positions. Despite that, we are still winning games. Cade is leading us to wins. We might need to make, we might feel like we need to make a move to try to get as high as possible in the Eastern Conference. What that will then open up, which could be part of the reason, if they do go and make a move, this could be a reason for it. If the Pistons lose that top 13 protected pick, it means they are now free of that protection for the next few years. It means they now no longer have to operate around the ideal of, okay, well, this pick is top whatever protected. We can't trade it until we can only trade the back end of this draft. Or we can only trade this first round pick with back 17. Or we only trade first round picks in 2027 and 2028. We have to wait. If they give up this first round pick this offseason, they are now free of that protection. They can trade as many first round picks as they want. They have all their first round picks completely usable to them with no protections, nothing to hide around, which then opens up the aggressiveness they could now use in the trade market if they wanted to package their first round picks. So the Pistons still technically own their first round picks in the future, but they're protected, like we've talked about, top 13, top 15, top 17. So it makes it hard to trade around those. Now you can still trade now, since it's 2025. They can trade their first round pick in 2028, 2029, but you don't have the complete control of your 2025, 2026. I believe the protection, we can look it up real quick. Detroit Pistons, future draft picks. I believe the protections are let go in 2027, I believe. But I'm going to get that up here and make sure I have that for you guys. But basically, once those protections go, now you can trade. Yeah, so it's protected all the way up until 2027, exactly. So the Pistons can now trade their 2028, 2029 first, but that's way into the future. If they give up their pick this year, they can now trade their 2026. They can now trade their 2027, 2028, 2029. So if a guy like, everyone's pointing out, maybe Devin Booker wants to come back to Detroit, which is a long shot, whatever, but just in that kind of situation, the Pistons are now capable of being a part of something like that. They can now trade 3 first-round picks, 4 first-round picks. It's not saying that they want to do that this offseason. It's just that they will now have that flexibility. So some of the main things we've heard Trajan talk about is wanting to get some more assets. This is somewhat, in its own way, creating another asset for you that maybe they didn't have right now. They don't have their first-round pick completely to them in 2026. They don't have their first-round pick completely owned to them in 2027. So that is kind of like adding another asset that you didn't already have, I guess. So that is one of the positives that they could look at it as. The team is good right now. We want to go make a move, get a guy to play with Cade, push up these Eastern Conference standings, really get some playoff experience, see if we can win a playoff game, get this team moving in the right direction, have a lot of momentum, and then this offseason, we'll lose the first-round pick. However, we now can make even more moves if we want to with the salaries we have, with some of the cap holds that we have. We can attach any first-round pick we want if there's something out there that we do like. They now would have that flexibility. So it's going to be interesting to see which way Trajan decides to go. I think that, what we just discussed is something that is going to be brought up in the front office. I think the other thing that's going to be brought up is who exactly out there would they want to add? Obviously, who is it? Would they be in Levine sweeps? Would they want to go out and get Levine? Would they want to go out and get BI? Is it maybe a CJ McCollum who's on a shorter term deal? What are they looking for exactly? And what are they expecting out of this year? Do they want to just make the playoffs and get a few playoff wins? Like, what is it? So I think you're going to wait. You're not going to really find out, I don't think, what they're going to do until the deadline is right around the corner. I think Trajan's going to walk to see how this team plays up until the deadline. And if the deadline comes, if it's like the first week of February, and the Pistons find themselves 7th, 8th seed still in the East, and they're 500 or above, if they still find themselves around there, I think he's going to be hard-pressed to have to make a decision and go a little bit more aggressive than he wanted to. If the team falls off a little bit by the time the first week of February, and they're below 500, or they're maybe the 9th or 10th seed, I think maybe he doesn't make any type of aggressive move, and they still maintain we're just going to use the cap space to try to get a second-round pick or two, or maybe at the best chance, a late first-round pick, something like that. So I don't think we're going to get our answer soon. We're still waiting. I think we're going to be in the wait-and-see phase for the next few weeks. But this is a good problem to have. This is a good conversation to be having, a good decision that you're going to have to make. This means that Cade has been much better than you expected him to be. He's really showing that he's that franchise guy, and the team is playing better than anyone could have expected. And with how the East is this year, the Pistons could make a move. I'll go out and say this, and then we'll wrap up this segment. I believe, I'm not saying they have to go out and get him, but I'm just going to use this example. I believe if the Pistons did go out and get Zach LaVine, they'd get the 6th seed. Like, I think that would happen. Doesn't mean I want them to go and give up all the future for him. I'm just saying that's one of the names that gets brought up. I think if they did go and get Zach LaVine to play with Cade this year, I think they'd get the 6th seed. I think they have a very real chance at the 6th seed if they were to do it. That's where the East is this year, and that's how good the Pistons are playing, how good Cade has been. So, like I said, I don't think we're going to get the answer to this yet. Come back around the first week of February, but I think this is a good situation to be in, and definitely speaks highly of the Pistons right now that you've went from, at the beginning of the year, it was, okay, 12th, 11th seed. Then it moved to, okay, maybe we can make the play-in. Then it moved to, oh my God, you about to have to make a move because of how good they are. Like, this is all showing signs of a good direction the Pistons are in and the development of their franchise star. So let me know in the comment section down below, what do you want the Pistons to do? Do you think that the way they're playing and the way Cade's playing, it's time to go make an aggressive move? Now you got to reevaluate some of your plans. And what would qualify as an aggressive move to you guys? Again, let me know, comment section down below or over on Twitter at Ku Khahil. There were a few vets that got called out. Heck, I called out one specifically since Jaden Ivey went down. And they have absolutely answered the call, and is one of the main reasons why the Pistons continue to play well without Jaden Ivey. I want to take a moment to introduce you to a brand new mobile game that I'm really excited about, Ultimate College Basketball HC. If you've ever dreamed of being a college basketball coach, this is your chance to step into those shoes. In Ultimate College Basketball HC, you control every detail of your program, from recruiting players and hiring coaches to overseeing training camp, handling NIL deals, and managing your scholarships. It's all in your hands. And when it comes to game time, you get to drop offensive plays and set your strategy. The way you play won't just affect the current season, it will shape the future of your school's basketball program. It's a game that lets you feel the full weight of what it means to be a head coach and lead your team to glory. Here's a special offer for Locked On NBA listeners. Use code LOCKEDONCBB, all caps, inside the game store to get a free boost for your program. It's the perfect way to kickstart your coaching career. To download Ultimate College Basketball HC, just visit ultimate-cbb.com or look it up on the app stores. Ultimate College Basketball HC, begin your coaching legacy today. To download it again, head to ultimate-cbb.com or look it up in the app store. That's Ultimate College Basketball HC. Now I gotta tell you guys about another one of our sponsors, Game Time. I love going to live events, whether it's sports, music, theater, or comedy. Obviously, I've told you guys many times that one of my favorite events going to all time was when I was a kid. I went to a Pistons game. My aunt took me to the game. I still remember it to this day. And obviously, I still go to a bunch of events now, like I just mentioned, whether it's to the theater or a Pistons game. I'm trying to go to a Lions game. And I've been looking at multiple places to get tickets from, but the best place is Game Time. It's super easy for someone like myself who is a procrastinator and wait to the last second. You still get last-minute deals. You get to see the view from your seat within the app, which I absolutely love. Again, last-minute deals all the way up to the start of the event. And also, Game Time has made it easier to get tickets for your favorite event with their new feature, Game Time Picks. This feature filters out all the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. If you're looking to get tickets for anything, music, sports, theater, whatever, go to Game Time, best place to go to. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and you can use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game time. So I want to thank you guys again for making Locked On Pistons your first listen of every single day. We are free and available on all your podcast platforms. If you haven't already, head to the YouTube channel at Locked On Pistons, hit that subscribe button, or leave us a 5-star review on whatever podcast platform you're listening to this on. That's another great way to support the podcast. Again, we're on our way to 10,000 subscribers. We are now under 700 subscribers away. Still about 50% of you guys, still around 50% who listen and watch the podcast are not subscribed. It's the best way to support the channel. It's the best way to support me growing in this field. So if you want to help me out, help us reach our goal of 10,000 subscribers by the end of the year, I really would appreciate it. Head over to Locked On Pistons, hit that subscribe button. Again, I really appreciate all of you guys in the community. Again, we are also still, I told you guys a few episodes ago, we are still searching for a good name for our community. Like we mentioned, Locked On Mavs has, what is it, the Raccoon Squad or something like that? I think that's what it is. We got to figure out something for Locked On Pistons. We had someone actually suggest, a few of you guys, suggested we do something with the whole Darth Ku bit. Like I think one of you guys said to call everyone like the Darth clan or something. What was it? What is the... Well, what's the... It's not the Republican Star Wars. Whatever the opposite one was, the bad side, whatever. People suggested to call the community that. But I don't know if everyone will be on board with that. Again, if you have suggestions or if you like that, let me know in the comment section down below. We got to figure something out. Anyways, when Jaden Ivey went down a week and a half ago, 2 weeks ago, obviously it was really bad. It was obviously none of us wanted to see that, and we wish the best for him. But once you get past just talking about Jaden Ivey, you start talking about the team. How is the team going to survive in his absence? And I spoke about it the day after and a few episodes after that obviously Cade was going to have to step up and shoulder a decent chunk of the burden. As the franchise player, as the star, he's going to have to take on more of the burden and really lead this team, or lead the team even more than he already was. Take more shots, be a more aggressive scorer now that Jaden Ivey's out. And since that time, we've gotten a 40-point game from Cade, a 32-point game from Cade, a 32-point game from Cade. A game against Brooklyn, we only had to play like 22 minutes because they were playing like, you know who Brooklyn plays. So he only had 13 points in that game. So since then, we have seen Cade be a lot more aggressive since Ivey went out. We have a 29-shot game, a 23-shot game, a 21-shot game. So he's being a lot more aggressive, searching for his shot. And that's led to good results. The Pistons are 4-5, or 4-1, I should say, over the last 5 games. And Cade, over the last 5 games, is averaging 28 points a game, 9.6 assists, 6.6 rebounds, 52% shooting from the field, 42% from 3. I mean, he's been absolutely exceptional. However, Cade's been really good all year. What really needed to change was the vets. The vets needed to step up while Jaden Ivey was out and really pick up some of that slack. And there was one player that we spoke about a ton that really needed to step up. Now, Jaden Ivey went out on January 1st. Since January 1st, Tobias Harris has stepped up and answered the call. The Pistons gave Tobias Harris a very good deal in the offseason. I was one of the people that said Tobias is a good signing. I'd love to see Tobias on the team. He's exactly what the team needs at the 4. What he did in Philly may not be good enough for Philly, but if what he does in Philly translates to Detroit, that's perfectly fine for Detroit. That's exactly what Detroit needs. They don't need any more. They don't need any less. What he was in Philly was not good enough for them, but that would be good enough for the Detroit Pistons. However, leading up to this, until Jaden Ivey's injury, Tobias had been very disappointing. He hadn't been playing well. He had been having his worst season since his rookie year. Shooting splits, not shooting great from beyond the arc, not shooting great from 2-point range, hasn't been showing off any type of athleticism really, has been struggling a lot. He was struggling majorly leading up to January 1st. And then Jaden Ivey went down. And I came on the podcast and I said, Tobias, look, you have to step up. They paid you this money to step up. They need you to now be the second scoring option. Now that Ivey is out, if he doesn't step up, it's going to be hard for the Detroit Pistons to last without Jaden Ivey, if that's the case. And over these 7 games, since January 1st, that Jaden Ivey went down, that game against Orlando, Tobias Harris has been great. He's averaging 16 points a game, 7 rebounds a game, 3.1 assists, but most importantly, he's shooting 56% from the field, 50% from deep, and 94% from the free throw line. He not only is his shooting splits going all the way back up, scoring up, rebounds up, assists up. Not only is all like his counting stats up, he's hit timely buckets over and over and over again for the Detroit Pistons since Jaden Ivey went out. I'm not just talking about last second shots, game winners. Like, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about in the fourth quarter when the other team seems to be going on the run, the Pistons are slowing down and they need a bucket. Tobias over and over and over again has hit a post fadeaway, a floater, go to him in the post, he gets another post fade. Like, he's been answering multiple times over and over, even hitting some clutch threes over this stretch, which is something he really wasn't doing for most of the year. He's doing that over this stretch. Tobias Harris has been fantastic, and this is exactly the player the Pistons thought they were getting when they signed him. And it's the main reason why. Since Orlando, the Pistons are 6-1? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, 6-1 since Ivey went down, if you include the game he went down in. You think that losing Ivey, there's a lot of talk of, especially from me, I've said it myself, the team's really going to struggle without Ivey. Don't know how they're going to play when Cade goes off the floor. And they have struggled when Cade goes off the floor. But Tobias has made the margin not as much as maybe you'd expect. And he's playing really great with Cade as well on the floor. So they're winning those minutes with Cade. And it's not just because of Cade, it's because Tobias has really stepped up and is playing extremely well for the Detroit Pistons. It's been absolutely big time, and they've desperately needed it. Desperately needed it. Also, it's crazy to think that the Pistons are 6-1 since Jaden Ivey went down. Like, they have not slowed down at all. At all. So, give it up to the Pistons, man. Tobias absolutely has answered the call. There's been a lot of hating on Tobias, a lot of criticism, and the criticism mostly, I would say, has been fair. But just like you criticize guys when they're not playing well and you point it out accurately, you need to point it out accurately when they're playing well. And Tobias has been probably the number 2 reason why the Pistons have been able to maintain without Ivey. First is Cade, and then next is Tobias. Tobias has been great since Ivey went down. Give it up to him. And then in this game against Toronto that the Pistons won over the weekend, and we've talked enough about Malik Beasley, man. Like, Malik has already surpassed, I believe by 23s, the Pistons leader in 3-point made last year, which was Jaden Ivey. He's at like 145 right now. Malik has been exceptional. We've talked about him a ton on the podcast. Give him his credit. I think we've done enough talking about Malik. Everyone knows how great Malik has been. Tim Hardaway Jr., man, comes back in this game against the Raptors, goes 7 of 8 from deep, 27 points, 9 of 13 from the field. DHJ, like we've mentioned, he has his faults. He's not great defensively. And he has ups and he has downs. But THJ, this is probably now like the 5th or 6th game that I won't say he just won it by himself, but he was one of the biggest reasons why they won, and they wouldn't have done it without him. This is now like maybe the 6th game that because he just goes scorched earth, goes unconscious, and just goes berserk, that the Pistons are able to win this game. They don't win this game if he doesn't go 7 of 8 from deep. Look, he has his inconsistencies. He has his faults. But for the most part this year, I don't know how you can say that THJ hasn't been more than what you expected from him this year. There's a lot of people that criticize the trade. And look, Quinn Grimes, good player. I like Quinn Grimes. I would have rather kept Quinn Grimes, yes, if he wanted to be here, which he didn't. He did not want to be here. But as someone who did not like the trade at the time, THJ has been what the Pistons have needed. He's been exactly what they wanted out of him. 38% from deep on 5.5 attempts. And again, the main thing is that he has these random spurts that have won Pistons games. Games they would have lost otherwise. Games they were down. He's won them these games because he can get hot like that. And he has such a quick trigger. He has such high confidence that you will get some of these nights every week or two because he's just going to keep shooting and he has the utmost confidence. He's been fantastic, man. I can't... In his role, in the role that the Pistons had carved out for him, I feel like he's aced that role. Has he been the greatest defender? No. But you didn't ask THA to be a great defender. That's not what you brought him in for. You brought him in to space the floor. You brought him in to go on these type of heat checks that can win you games and be consistent doing that. And I think he's been a consistent spacer. He's been a consistent shooter. And these spurts that he has is one of the bigger reasons why the Pistons are 20-19 right now. They wouldn't be 20-19 without THJ. So vets have been delivering. One of the biggest reasons why the Pistons have had a good season this year. Last few years, vets didn't show up like this. Tobias recently. Malik all year. THJ all year. These vets have been perfect for the Pistons. Perfect for them. And they've showed out. So give them credit, man. One of the biggest reasons why the Pistons are having the season that they are having this year. Love it. Absolutely. And we didn't even talk about how great they've been in the locker room. How great they've been off the court. The players love them. The young guys love them. They've had such an impact on these guys, on and off the floor. The vets have been amazing. And it's one of the reasons why, if you go and look at the odds right now, Trajan Langdon is at the top of the list when it comes to winning Executive of the Year. I think he smashed his first offseason. Smashed it. So let me know in the comment section down below or over on Twitter at Ku Khahil how you guys feel about the vets and how well they've played. Specifically, Tobias Harris, who's been under a lot of criticism, how he's played over the last few games since Jaden Ivey went out. Let me know in the comment section down below or over on Twitter at Ku Khahil. When we come back, Cade's balling, man. Is all NBA possible for Cade Cunningham? Talk about that coming up. Running a small business means you're wearing a lot of hats. Your personal phone becomes your business phone, and before you know it, you're juggling customer calls days and night. As your team grows, it becomes impossible to manage everything with just your personal number. That's where Open Phone comes in. It's the #1 business phone system designed to help keep your work and personal life separate. For just $15 a month, the cost of just a few coffees, you get complete transparency and visibility into everything happening with your business phone number. Open Phone works through an app on your phone or computer and integrates with tools like HubSpot and hundreds of others. It also uses AI-powered call transcripts and summaries, so you'll have a rundown of your calls and action items the second you hang up. And if you miss a call, no problem. Automated messages are sent directly to your customer, ensuring you never miss an opportunity to engage. Right now, OpenPhone is offering 20% off your first 6 months when you go to openphone.com/lockedonnba. That's openphone.com/lockedonnba for 20% off your first 6 months. Openphone.com/lockedonnba. If you have existing numbers with other service, OpenPhone will port them over at no extra charge. Again, that's at openphone.com/lockedonnba. So I want to thank you guys again for making Locked On Pistons your first listen of every single day. We are free and available on all your podcast platforms. If you haven't already, head to the YouTube channel at Locked On Pistons. Hit that subscribe button or leave us a 5-star review on whatever podcast platform you're listening to this on. That's another great way to support the podcast. Look, man, Cade has been exceptional this year. He's been absolutely fantastic. And the push for this year, actually, let me read you guys his numbers on the year. 24 points per game, 9.5 assists, 6.7 rebounds, 46% from the field, 38% from deep, 79% from the free throw line. He's been absolutely fantastic this year for the Pistons. Really showing that he is the franchise guy. But it feels like as the season's going on, he just keeps getting better and better and better. And if you followed the Pistons, and if you've watched the Pistons and Cade over the last few years, this has been the case every year that he's played. Outside of his second year when he missed the whole year. Rookie season started out slow, built up, got better through the season. His third season, I don't know if I would say it started out slow, but wasn't as good at the beginning of the year. Got better, and was peaking at the end of the year. Like, he gets better as the year goes on. And then this year, like, even if you look at the turnovers, now I know he had 8 turnovers in this game against Toronto. That's not good at all. But if you look at his turnovers month over month, they've went down around 5 to just above 4 to just at 4, then right under 4. Turnovers going down, shooting splits going up. How he's playing, getting better and better and better. So he gets better as the season goes on. So that's something I absolutely love about Cade. Then, since Jaden Ivey went out, he was going to be asked to do a lot more, like we just talked about. More responsibility went on him. If you are a franchise player, you have to do this. If you're a franchise player and your guy goes down, you can't let your team fall apart. You have to keep him afloat. That was the conversation at the time. And at the time, remember, the Pistons were quite a few games below 500. But since Jaden Ivey went out, the Pistons are 5-1, and Cade over those 6 games is averaging 26 points a game, 8.8 assists, 6.3 rebounds. He's shooting 50% from the field. He's now taking 20 shots a game, shooting 41% from deep. A lot of those shots coming on pull-up attempts, self-created looks. Now, the one area that, Cade, look, man, don't know what's going on with the free throw numbers. You're getting 5.0 attempts over the last 6 games. Still need to go up a little bit more. I'd love to see it go up a little more, but that, we'll take that at the moment. But 76% from the free throw line. Don't know what's going on this year. Like, you've never been this low. You've been a great free throw shooter your whole career, going back to college. Don't know why all of a sudden this year you're hovering around like 78%. That's not good enough. You have to go much higher than that. You need to be closer to 88, 87% like you've been. Don't know what's going on there, but outside of that, has been fantastic and has stepped up in the absence of Jaden Ivey and continue to show why he's the franchise guy. So now the conversation has went from, is Cade an all-star? I think everyone has accepted he will be an all-star this year. If he's not, it would be absolutely blasphemous. I will come on this podcast and I will lose my mind. I will lose my mind if I come on this podcast after they've announced the all-star starters and reserves and Cade Cunningham is not on there. It will be, we'll turn the lights off. Darth Ku, you won't just get Darth Ku. You will get it will be legendary what happens on here if Cade doesn't become an all-star. That should be a sure thing. What's being discussed now is whether Cade could become an all-NBA player this year. Now, that will be incredibly hard to do. But is it possible? Yes. And here's how he can do it. The Pistons have to make the playoffs. He is right now, if you look at the odds, he is now leading in Most Improved Player of the Year honors. So he's getting national recognition. He might get that award. Think he deserves it? I'd love to see him get it. Trajan is at the head of the odds when it comes to the Executive of the Year award. The reason why I'm bringing that up is because the Pistons are being talked about nationally. Go on Twitter, go on Instagram, go whatever social device or social media that you have, look up Cade's name, and look how much he's being talked about. I'm on Twitter all the time. The NBA account is tweeting every single game Cade plays. They are tweeting Cade highlights every time he plays. Every time his game finishes and he has a triple-double like he had against Toronto, or he has a 32-point game, or has a great game, or the Pistons win. They're tweeting out Cade numbers. They're tweeting out about the Pistons. You go to StatMuse. You go to ESPN. All of these accounts are talking about Cade. They're talking about the Pistons because they've turned their season around from how bad it was last year. They're performing way better this year. And remember, their odds were set at 24.5 heading into the year. They're at 20 already. So not only is Cade balling out stat-wise, not only is he third in the NBA in triple-doubles this year behind LeBron and Jokic, not only is he absolutely balling out from a numbers perspective, his team is performing way more than anybody nationally thought they would perform. They're in the playoffs right now. They're heating up right now. And he's being talked about, which is a big part of getting votes for this. Your team needs to be playing well, and you need to be getting noticed. People need to be talking about you. And all of those things are going to Cade's direction. So, All-Star, I think, for sure going to happen. I think it's very likely he wins the Most Improved Player of the Year award. So what Cade needs to do to get this team to the playoffs, because he's going to have the narrative behind him, or get that All-NBA bid. He's going to have the narrative behind him. Continue to put up these type of numbers. Score around 25 points a game. Your 9 assists, 7 rebounds. Continue to raise your efficiency on the year, which he's continuing to do. But get the Pistons in the playoffs. If you get the Detroit Pistons into the playoffs, I think he'll win Most Improved Player of the Year. I think Trajan will win Executive of the Year. And because of that, with how Cade played, and with the narrative behind the Pistons, with how bad they were last year, with how everyone expected them to be this year, with all the odds, all the books, having the Pistons at 24.5. No one expected them to be that good. Everyone riding Cade off. And then the Pistons doing that this year, making the playoffs. All of that. And then to add on top of that you lost your running mate in Jaden Ivey and you kept the team afloat. You raised your numbers and your team still carried them to the playoffs. I think he'd have a great argument for the All-NBA. Not just numbers-wise, but he'd have the narrative. And we know that narrative and the storytelling goes into this, into the voter's mind. He'd have the narrative. He'd have it. So it's going to come down to team success. Absolutely, it's going to come down to team success, I think. Cade continuing to put up these numbers. I'm not concerned about that. And if the Pistons were to go out and make a move that got them to the 6th seed, write it down. Right, I'm telling you right now, I believe if the Pistons got to the 6th seed, Cade is going to get a lot of votes for All-NBA third team. And I didn't even address, I kind of mentioned it. I mean, this game against Toronto, does an easy 22-point triple-double with damn near 20 assists. 22, 17, and 10. You know, I almost had a 20-20-10 game. That's something you expect from Jokic. Someone like Russell Westbrook in his prime. Cade's just flirting with it, you know, nothing crazy. Only Cade could have 8 turnovers and still have over a 2-to-1 assist-to-turnover ratio. You know, they win his minutes by 23. It was a close game in the fourth quarter, and they won his minutes by 23. You know, just something casual, you feel me? Cade is absolutely balling out. And then even in the game against Golden State, they lost by 3, won his minutes by 9. You know, you are watching the Pistons franchise player become a legit star in the NBA. And not just from Pistons fans, but you're now watching him become a star nationally. People are taking notice, and that narrative will help him with All-NBA votes. All you need to have happen, make the playoffs. And that's kind of, that is part of the reason why I really would like to see the Pistons make a move. Because if they do, and they make the playoffs, I think Cade, he's going to get some votes for that All-NBA. So let me know in the comment section down below. Do you guys think All-NBA's in the sights for Cade this year? Is it possible for him? Again, let me know in the comment section down below or over on Twitter at Ku Khahil. That's all I've got for you guys today. Thank you guys for making Locked On Pistons your first listen of every single day. Free and available on all your podcast platforms. If you haven't already, head to the YouTube channel at Locked On Pistons. Hit that subscribe button. And until next time, I'll see you guys later. Stay safe out there. Until next time, peace out.